Everyone's getting all set to go here, as today we have a very slick track surface to deal with. It's Twin Ring Motegi, and all the drivers for Sox Out Racing and the V8 SuperTrucks are getting all set to go here on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live, here for what should be an exciting race this week. I'm Justin Prince, and as we seen last week, it was definitely entertaining racing we seen at Phillip Island. That race was thrilling. We should expect the same this week. But before we get to the topics for today's race, let's take a look at what happened for those who missed at Phillip Island and what was a thriller of an event. Set at the flag stand. We're underway for round number 3 from Phillip Island Circuit.
Doing a fantastic job, and it looks like he's got a little bit of an edge because Zelensky's going defensive into the hairpin there at MG.
They are going to go just about double file, in fact double file. But Hayes not the preferred line. That's going to open up the door easily for Laniers, and Laniers is going to go side by side, gets a little lump tap in fact.
Tricky braking zone, and Melrose missed his braking there. He's locked up, that's open the door there for Clampett. They're going to go side by side through the penultimate corner, and contact, around goes Clampett. Oh, Zelensky.
The leader's off.
Where's Zelensky?
Everybody else.
Where's Zelensky? He's coming down the pit straight now. Mogren, if he could keep it on the track, he's going to take the lead effectively.
Right now, Krutov, he's going to have to try and hold on to the 5th spot as Kapal almost got underneath them due to a bobble and a wheel lock.
And Clampett's down the inside of Melrose. Melrose taking that defensive line. He's trying his best to hold on to that position, doing a good job. New to the series, a little bit of contact, and you have to say that's a little bit of payback, I would think, from Clampett. Great racing, absolutely great racing from these two. This is what we want to see all season long.
But for Marco Marglin, able to take advantage, had the fastest truck in practice, had the fastest truck in qualifying, had some of the fastest lap times in the race, and he comes away with his first victory of the 2018 season here at Phillip Island Circuit. That was definitely an exciting race, and a race filled with intrigue for sure, especially with what happened on the pit exits there. But now it's time to take your socks off and put them out on the dash, because it's time for the Sox Out Racing V8 SuperTrucks Championship from Twin Ring Motegi. Up next, you're on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live for what should be some entertaining coverage from flag to flag. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside me in the booth tonight while doing the directing is Paul Smith. And what should be an exciting race. As you see, 23 degrees Celsius will be the track temperature, with 45 degrees humidity, partly cloudy, and about 6 kilometers an hour the wind on this 2.9 mile, 4.7 kilometer circuit. All TV cameras are provided by Esteban Bolagro. All overlay designs by Andres Werner, and development, of course, by Simon Grossman, and live timing by Nick Theismann. This is going to be an absolutely entertaining race for sure here for the V8 SuperTrucks here, Paul. This was an exciting race last year. What should we expect here tonight?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. It's going to be an interesting race, that's for sure. It's going to be tricky to overtake here, but there are a good couple of overtaking spots in this one. And these, you're going to see these trucks just drifting around these corners on the power. A lot of low-speed corners as we look at the championship standings.
Yes, that's for sure. Bobby Zelensky right now leads in the standings, increased his points lead by 2 for Marco Mogren. Sven Kamertz is currently in third spot. Justin Kruithoff is in fourth, with Wade Hayes rounding out your top 5. Eric Blixt, he had a very strong run at Phillip Island. He's in sixth. Logan Clampett, Diego Melro, Bam Reniers, and Martin Kapal rounds out your top 10 here for the point standings heading into round number 4 here at Twain Ring Motegi at Motegi, Japan. But of course, those are not just the only standings to think about when it comes to things. Yes, you see their drivers successful there, but it's also about the teamwork. Working together as a collective unit to try and get on top of the team standings, that is for sure. As right now, there have been some very strong teams this year in the standings. And of course, some of those drivers, when you look at it, can include guys like Kinetic, Radicals, Collaboration, and Slip Angle Motorsports this year.
Yeah, and if the graphics would actually work, then we'd be able to show you those championship standings. But yeah, just trying to fix that today, folks. Hopefully this will work. But yeah, be really, really good. It's all about the team. It's all about how you work in the team standings. And yeah, these drivers, yeah, they're going for that drivers' championship. Hopefully, I'm praying that this works now. There we go. The team standings are up on screen now. But yeah, these teams, that they're going to be working hard, trying to get really good results here, because that Kinetic Radical collab is working really well together.
They definitely are. You can see they're having 280 points right now. Slip Angle Motorsports is currently in second. Off Camber Motorsports, they're trying to get into the 200s today. They're in third. Lempals Racing in fourth. Workava Kinetic Racing fifth, with Torque Freak Racing, Blanchimont, Team Mads 2 entries, Team Bushfink Racing, and Atlas Simsport rounding out your top 10 in the point standing.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll also look, it's not just a part of the teams, it's that battle between the road versus oval drivers. Road are currently leading that one 280 to 264 on the oval side of things, and also in the manufacturers battle as well. That's going on at the moment, and it's 260 points for Toyota, 278 for Chevrolet. So the American mark really showing well against the Japanese brand.
Yeah, some very strong runs there. Of course, road versus oval, one of the categories as well, as you mentioned. So some very strong with the road versus oval, as mentioned. 280 is the road side, 264 is the oval side. And as you said, manufacturers 278, 260, Chevrolet, Toyota for those two respectively. But of course, these drivers, they're trying to put together the best times they can, because qualifying is starting to get towards the final stages right now. Practice, they're running 155 flats on the track circuit. They've actually topped those times now, up into the 154s. Bobby Zelensky leads that group with a 154.6. Marco Mogren in second with a 154.9. He was flying in the early parts of the practice session before qualifying. Sven Kamertz in third, Gabriel Ruse, Daniel Thompson round out your top 5 here for qualifying here. But as these drivers continue to take this circuit, maybe get themselves acquainted here, one of the things we were discussing before going on the air, the slipperiness of this circuit.
Yeah, it's a tricky circuit to drive on, that's for sure. And it's world famous as the Japanese tarmac for being really slippery. Asphalt, sorry for people outside of the UK. Yeah, it's a really slippery surface. And as far as I was told, and I'm only going by what I've been told, they use a smaller pebble, and what that means is that you know, the rocks, there's not as big a rocks in that asphalt, so that means that the tyre can't grip onto it as much. But these drivers, they're going to have to combat with that, as well as those conditions on track, as qualifying is coming down to a close now. Just 20 seconds, under 20 seconds left here. Drivers not really setting lap times, they're not out there on lap times, so I think we're pretty much set for the start of this race.
I think we're pretty much set for sure, but of course, still going to be a lot of challenges for sure. By the way, there are a few things to take care of course. A few SDSs involved. Jimmy Mullis, he has 6 incident points. Next race he competes in, 6 prohibited from qualifying. Applegate, he has to make a start from the pits. He will not be racing tonight as well. 2 drivers do have to start the back, and there are Caroni and Michael Smith Jr. But right now, everyone's getting all set to go for the starting grid as everything's been all finalized up. Let's take a look at your starting grid for tonight's action as Bobby Zalenski starts on the pole for tonight. Marco Mogren starts alongside him on row number 1. Sven Kamertz and Justin Krutov will be in row number 2. Krutov, of course, had a very strong run last year, very strong one in qualifying. Gabriel Ruse and Daniel Thompson are in row number 3 with Diogo Melro and Logan Clampett, last race's hard charger, in the 8th spot. Tim Klassen will start alongside Bram Raniers in 9th and 10th. Eric Blixt and Wade Hayes are 11th and 12th. James King and Clifton Cockrell, they're going to have to both try and move themselves up in the 156s, 157s. Martin Kapal and Marek Sakowicz will be in that same grouping, 15th and 16th. David Crozier with a 2-minute and 3-second lap time, about 5 seconds off the next time in 17th. And as mentioned, Caroni and Smith Jr. will start the back due to late attendance. But now it is time to get all set to go. There's still a few minutes of pacing before they get to the green flag. Real quickly here, what should we expect in terms of the action tonight?
Really, you're going to look at turn number 1. It's a really tricky one to get right. And then it's all about looking after those tyres. We see it so often in this series. Looking after those tyres really is a crucial thing in this championship, and making sure that they don't do too much, don't overwork those tyres, and to really get it working well as the drivers are now under pacing towards the end of the lap. So these guys, it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough old race as this one, and it's all about that mandatory tyre stop that they have to make, how late they can make that, how long they can make those tyres last.
There's still about a couple more seconds to get ready to go. Remember, Bobby Zalenski will be the control car for this, as he'll start on the right side of the line. Starting beside him, Mogren, as they head towards the front stretch. Green flag getting ready up at the flag stand. Everyone being patient, waiting for the green flag to come out. Who will have a good start here and what should be entertaining racing heading into turn number 1. Zalenski's off on the gas. We're underway for round number 4 here from Twain Ring Motegi, as he's already up to single file, dropping back a little bit already. Converts, and we got trouble already into turn number 1. 2 drivers smashing hard into the wall.
Yeah, one of them is Gabriel Ruse. The other one, Daniel Thompson. We're still going green here, so everybody's still able to carry on going. We'll hopefully get a replay of that at the end of the lap. But Zalenski making that breakaway at the front straight away, trying his hardest to move forward. Second place is Kamertz, and then it's Mogren, and you just look at them behind, all battling it out, too wide into this tricky right-hander, 90-degree right-hander. Hopefully no more incidents involved in this one, but I said turn 1 was going to be crucial here. It's so easy to get caught up in an incident, and that's exactly what happened there at the start.
Exactly what happened there. Everyone's starting to get towards single file. Already a few bumping and banging too through some of the sections right now across the racetrack. Zalenski now starting to really pick up pace and start to pull it away a little bit. Already about a second out in front of Sven Kamertz right now. Marco Mogren right now trying to hang on to 3rd. Krutov, you might notice he's already got some back damage right now to his car because Diogo Melro, who is currently in the 6th spot, ran into the back of him shortly after that incident in turn number 1 through turns 2 and 3 in that section of the racetrack. As everyone's starting to try and have some great runs. Remember, Zalenski, very strong driver here last year, was able to get a lot of separation away from the group, and he's doing exactly the same already as they were getting ready to complete the first lap here for this race here at Twain Ring Motegi. Has a great exit, able to pull away now an extra 0.2 of a second as we complete the first lap here of this race. 21 laps is the total for today.
We saw Clampett, we were on board with Clampett then, and he got into the back of Krutov at the end in that last corner. Just a little tap there, but that's not going to help Justin Krutov's car, that's for sure, as they're heading on. And what we'll do now is we're going to try and get you a replay of that start, because That was not the greatest of starts. We'll try and go with Thompson here, looking from your aerial coverage, and it was down into turn 1 then, and one truck just got loose under the brakes, and that sent 2 wide, just the smallest of contact, and around they go, Thompson and Roos.
Yeah, that was absolutely big-time contact to start off this race. Just as we come back to action here, Logan Clampett really had to lock on the brakes because Krutov, we keep on mentioning him, he's been bumped into already twice in the back end, but almost had a third situation there as Melrose now in front of him because Clampett fell back an extra spot here, of course. Last race's hard charger, trying to still get himself back into the top 5. As we have seen some absolutely good racing here so far here, other than those first incidences. Everyone going single file all the way back to about 13th position right now.
Yeah, everybody's trying to line it up. I did see on my timing screen, Clifford Cockrell's had an issue on this lap. We'll try and find out what that was, but he ended up in the gravel, heading towards the support pits. He's back up and running again though, no damage to that truck, so hopefully he's able to carry on. But Clampett and Melrose, this is an interesting battle. Melrose getting a bit loose, a bit snaky out that final corner as they head over the line once again to end lap number 2.
Yes, still a long ways to go in this one as you see Melrose bit slower through the corner there as Clampett tried to peek his nose underneath the right rear quarter panel. They go back to single file meanwhile as Melrose had a bit of a defensive line down the straightaway. He's going to have a wider exit. Cones go flying behind them. Melrose takes the wide corner and off goes Clampett, able to make the pass once again. He's back into the top 5.
Yeah, that was taking advantage of Melrose's little mistake there. He got a little bit late on the brakes. Ran it wide. Oh, Clampett lost the back end there, and the truck goes around it, blocks Melrose, and here comes King and Blix through. Oh, disaster for Clampett there.
And with that, the caution flag has been drawn as bad luck for Clampett. As you said, back end just absolutely swinging around that slick surface. Way too strong, I think, in terms of how fast he was going in the corner. Melrose helps him out a bit in terms of minimizing the damage, but he's going to lose a lot of time. Of course, caution flag out on the racetrack.
Yep, just having a look at the replay now from the back of Clampett's truck. Just carried a little bit too much speed into that corner. Under the slightest of contact with Melrose, of course. And as you see, he's just struggles to get it back on track. He does so in the end, but the caution was thrown for that truck. And well, Zelensky was about 2 seconds ahead. He's not going to be too pleased because he's bringing everyone back into this battle for the lead. But one thing it does mean is that drivers are going to have fresher tyres later on in this race. They're able to go further.
That's for sure right now as everyone tries to catch up to the pace car as it is currently in turns 1 and 2. Zelensky just passing the start and finish line. Perfect time to remind everyone that, of course, by the end of the race, 2 people will have a chance to get awarded with the iAnalyze Racing Hard Charger Award. The prize, 1 month of iAnalyze Racing Service Award to 1 driver for each round of the season. 2 non-podium drivers will be selected from each race. The biggest mover and the most exciting. The biggest mover depends, of course, on how many spots someone moves to the field. Most exciting? Why don't we leave that up to you, the fans here on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live. Put together who you think is going to be the most exciting by the end of the race, in the final third of the race. And be sure to watch with that. Again, fan vote will decide who will be awarded with that 1 month of free iAnalyze Racing. Of course, you do have to finish no higher than 4th to be considered quickly here. But we've seen, of course, Paul, a lot of good action here in the first few minutes here. Just real quickly, what do you think some of these drivers are going to adjust here?
Well, I mean, these drivers are going to be able to push the tyres a little bit further now. So they're going to maybe adjust when they make their pit stop. You would imagine that they would have made their pit stop around the halfway point of the race. Now you're going to see them pushing it a little bit further, meaning that in that second phase of the race they're going to be able to push harder on those tyres to get the most out of them. Yeah. It's going to be an interesting one. We're still under the pace car at the moment, though. The lights are still on that iRacing pace car, so definitely these drivers will be doing as much as possible to look after their tyres, let them cool down a little bit as well, but then get them back up to speed for the restart.
We'll be back in a few minutes here on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live. You're watching the V8 SuperTrucks Championship live for round number 4 from Twin Ring Motegi.
Fuel usage.
Averaging 0.10 gallons per lap.
Pit stop, add 5 gallons. Change right side only.
Hitbox in 10, 9, 8, 1. Bingo. 10-4, adding 5 gallons. Changing right side tires.
The yellow flag is out. Pit road is now open. Keep your eye on those gauges. We'll give you 4 tyres. 3, 2, 1, now. We're done. Get going.
And welcome back, everyone, to RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live with more coverage of the Sox Out Racing V8 SuperTrucks Championship. Just coming back here with some interesting strategy calls here, of course, because pit window for a mandatory tire pit stop is from laps 6 to 18. But you can go in the pits with the caution. These still 4 drivers went with that strategy. Clampett, Caroni, Smith Jr., and Thompson all decided to get fresh tires for this restart. They still have to come in for more tires, but they'll have an advantage compared to the rest of the field here, Paul.
Yeah, Thompson taking longer in the pits because, of course, he had that damage from that lap 1 incident. So he's obviously trying to get some damage fixed there. But interesting strategy call here. Those drivers, fresh tyres on their truck, they'll be able to push harder, they'll be able to push for longer as well compared to the other drivers before they make their pit stop. I wouldn't be surprised if you see those 4 drivers leave it until the last lap of the pit window before they make their mandatory stop.
I think I agree with you, that's for sure right now. They do have a long ways to work through, but Clampett, of course, was the fastest of the group. Of course, Bobby Zelensky, he's been leading the way since the drop of the green flag, of course. Already putting together some quick lap times on the racetrack here and during this race pace. He's had a strong day right now. As you see your top 8 now on your screen. Kamertz, Mogren, Kruithoff right now in your top 4 with Blix inside the top 5, coming off a strong run at Phillip Island. Of course, just outside the top 5, Kane, Melrose, Claessens, and Reniers. So when it comes to here, there were a few different points brought up between the drivers for the races here for the track. The track, especially with corners 9, 11, and 12 through 14, were the main focuses here because of the challenges that they have to face compared to some other tracks.
Yeah, this is it. You know, these trucks that are on that contra strategy as we're heading towards the to try and keep the positions.
That's for sure. You see them going now underneath the bridge. Of course, this track also features a super speedway layout here at this circuit, but everyone's getting all set to go for the race. It's going to be Zelensky leading them down single file, heading out of turn number 14. Who's going to have a good start here? Can they keep up with Zelensky? Or will we see a battle for the lead right into turn number 1? We'll see for sure. Pace car already off the racetrack. Everyone waiting for the green flag. Zelensky leads them down, and we're back on racing once again here for the V8 SuperTrucks. Zelensky immediately went for the defensive line as Kamertz is now on the outside line trying to get a pass, can't do so as they're still 2 by 2, almost 3 wide in fact, coming out of turn number 2 as Zelensky and Kamertz both pull away.
Yeah, we've got trucks on the grass behind as well, heading into this next turn. Will they all make it through? Certainly all calming down once again, and you look at those drivers that have been in the pits. Oh, we got a car straight off the 451,
and it's Tim Claessens who went straight head on into a tire barrier. Big time collision, did not go back on the racetrack, as we'll see the Race Spot TV replay here, because you see he was in a bit of a hornet's nest outside the top 10. Cars were in the grass, hit way too strong on the gas and went straight into the tire barrier.
Yeah, he did go head on into that tyre wall. Amazing that he's able to carry on, that's for sure, but he's way down, a lot of damage to the front of his truck. Zelensky leading this pack once again. Kamertz, it looked like Kamertz had got the good start on him on that restart, but not able to take advantage of that in that 66 truck. And Marco Mogren now attacking, but look at those trucks that I was about to make the point. Those trucks that made their pit stop here, they're fighting their way through already. Clampett and Coroni coming through. Clampett getting ahead of Coroni actually here down towards this 90-degree right-hander, and Clampett straight away. Look at how late he's able to brake compared to that truck ahead of Maciej Sakovic and that team had cut the truck. And through he goes, nice and easy. Clampett up another place, up into 11th place.
Already gaining 5 spots since the restart in 1 lap, as he's just on the fringe of the top 10. Him and Coroni both moving through positions right now, as Coroni, he is now in the 16th spot. It was also part of that pit strategy situation. Pit window is now officially open, of course, on the racetrack here. You do have to remember, drivers do have to take a mandatory tire pit stop here between laps 6 and 18. So that is where a lot of the strategy is going to come from, especially when it comes, of course, to guys like Clampett, where we might see them come in later, the drivers who are on the fresh tires, compared to, say, the drivers up the front.
We saw Sakovic running wide through the double apex left-hander, and he's dropped himself down to 15th now, side by side with Martin Kapal and Daniel Thompson. Kapal getting a bit loose on the exit there, having to drop back behind Sakovic there in that one. But really, Kamertz is kind of keeping with Zelensky. Marco Mogren keeping with Kamertz. They're all pretty spaced out behind them, and so it's not really the bare knuckle fighting that you would perhaps expect. But Clampett now up to 10th place in this race, and he's catch up to Wade Hayes. Next target for him.
Yeah, right now, looking at some of the lap times right now, he is putting together some really quick times already, as you said, up back into the top 10. As you see, again, late braking comes into the factor because the fresher tires don't have to go off a bit as much. And he's already gained an extra couple of tenths in just one corner. Already zooming on forward. Difference with the tires as Clampett's bobbling around once again. He drives through the grass for a second. He doesn't get a cut the course penalty as he has lost all the time he just gained on Hayes through that section. Again, 12, 13, 14, which 14, of course, the victory corner. Very challenging part of the racetrack. And you see right there, Clampett now bobbing around. You see now Caroni, meanwhile. He's also on that strategy with fresher tires. He's still in the 12th spot with Ruse. Between him and Clampett, you see Caroni also using late braking and seemingly destroying the cones every single lap at this point. But right now trying to find any way he can to get by Ruse at this point.
I feel sorry for the poor marshals that have to place the cones back out on track every lap. But yeah, Caroni putting the pressure on Ruse here. Gabriel Ruse certainly doing a good job at the moment. On board with Caroni now through the long sweeping right-hander. But that last corner, the last two corners, is really tricky because you want to change the truck down to first gear, but it's so easy to lock up the rear tyres when you change it down into that first gear. And I think that's what you saw Logan Clampett do just a few moments ago. And that means that you lose control, and Clampett once again losing control on the exit, the hairpin, and he's dropped down 1-2 positions here. So even though he's on the fresher tyres, he's maybe pushing a little bit too hard.
This was what happened, was bobbing around a little bit before that caution too, of course, that was drawn. So I don't know if it's a setup thing or what, but he has been getting really loose through the apex of the corners. Maybe going a little bit too fast in a lot of these corners to keep on bobbing around like that on the exit.
I don't know. It's really difficult to say because he's on the edge. He almost got into the back of Caroni there. Gets out the final corner, gets a better run than Caroni.
And
up over the line.
Speaking of getting to the back of somebody, Cockrell just got bumped into the back of him and lost an extra few spots. This is just behind Clampett, and a few cars got stacked out. Everybody able to just barely get through cleanly as they go back towards single file racing. One position battle starting to heat up is currently the battle for 6th spot, as Melrose caught up to James King right now, as it is just a couple tenths separating the two of them. Melrose is on fact right on the back bumper of King, as he has been right on that doorstep through the apex of the corners. Just better exits for King compared to Melrose right now.
Yeah, I think what you find in here is this Team Mad, both the Team Mad and Team Mad 2 team, they're new to this series. They're still learning these trucks, and they're having to adapt themselves. And I think what we've seen here is maybe Melrose being the quickest to adjust his driving to these trucks, because it is a unique style that you have to drive these trucks with on the road courses, and certainly it's adaptation and learning how to set up the truck that some of these drivers have the edge over someone like a Team Mad or a couple of the more inexperienced drivers.
Yeah, especially since, of course, most of the time you're driving on ovals, whether it's short track, 1.5 milers, 2 milers. It takes a lot of adjustment, of course, with these road courses. Melrose, meanwhile, he's not going to wait here. He's going to go through the apex, almost got the position to stick, but went too fast on the exit. He loses the spot to King once again. You can see Melrose really trying to get that spot, but again, about finding the right spots. Meanwhile, we have one of our first cars down pit road for the leaders, and it's Mogren.
Yeah, Marco Mogren onto pit road then. He's the first of the leaders to make that jump onto pit road for his mandatory tyre stop. Now, of course, remember, people like Logan Clampett, Caroni, Thompson, and also Claessens, they've all been on pit road already, but as Mogren pulls away, but they haven't had their mandatory pit stop. Ruse is on pit road, so too is Kapal, as they're having their mandatory pit stop as well. So these early stops here, lap 10, it's about the halfway point of this race. Obviously feeling that they need to get onto those new tyres, maybe a lighter truck as well will just help conserve those tyres a little bit longer in the second stop.
Yeah, that is for sure right now. You see some of them after getting out of the pits right now, but we have a battle up on screen. It is Krutov and Blixt. It's down to 0.4 of a second between these two. Blixt, of course, coming off a great run at Phillip Island. He's bobbling around as he loses about a tenth or two. Trying to keep up with Krutov, of course. Krutov, the fastest driver in final practice before the main practice and the qualifying sessions before this one. You can see they are about the same pace, give or take, in terms of how they're running. With the lap times, they were both in the 1:57.6s. As right now, you can see Blixt wants to potentially get another podium spot.
He's looking. That's for sure. He is looking, and not going to make the move into that 90-degree right-hander underneath the super speedway, as you mentioned, and then these final few turns. Who comes onto pits? And it's going to be Blixt.
I think Blixt decided, you know what? I don't want to burn out these tires any longer with the battles. In fact, your leaders are also in because of that. I think they notice what's going on because Zelensky and Kamertz are both in the pits. Raniers, Hayes joining them, also in that group, Cockrell. Everyone jumping on in to match with the leaders.
Yep, it's a bit of a pit party here. They're making their stops. Bobby Zelensky getting his right-hand tyres done. Away he goes from the pit stop then. And it is a 13.6 second pit stop. Sven Kamertz as well pulling out of the pits. As down the pit straight comes Marco Mogren as well.
Pardon me for almost cutting you off there, because right as you finish your point, Zelensky finally back on, Clampett I should say, went back on the track, because guess what? He went through the gravel for turns 1 and 2. Sakowicz just went to the gravel for the next set of corners for 3 and 4. So a lot of drivers trying to have an adventure through the sand. Let's take a look at the replay involving Clampett, because again, trying to use the late braking, but this time he went way too fast. So fast, in fact, he went all the way towards the sand, able to lose just only 1 spot with that, but somebody that had an absolute adventure there.
Yes, that there was, and then Sakowicz got past, was holding it out wide, and then at the next corner, he goes through the sandpit, as you said. There goes Clampett, there goes Thompson, and they all sort themselves out and they're back up and running there. There's just a few drivers who haven't had a pit stop yet. Justin Krutov is one of those, and look behind him, James King and Diogo Melro. They're battling away as they head down the hill into the braking zone. So difficult to get your braking right down here because it is such a steep hill into this 90-degree right-hander.
Very steep for sure. As right now, you see right now, King, he's better in that section. I think it's because they are both going to go into the pits now too, with Krutov now, as they are some of the last drivers taking their mandatory pit stops outside of the drivers on the strategy calls. As everyone goes right on in. In fact, the whole team with Krutov, his teammate and Thompson also joining him in the pits. As that just about wraps up a lot of the drivers. Noteworthy with Thompson though, because he was one of the drivers who took fresh tires during the caution flag, along with some of the other drivers here, including the 13 truck, including someone that's been an absolute excursion, so to speak, in this one, of course. We're saying Clampett. So strategy definitely starting to play into a role here, lap number 12 here on this racetrack.
Yeah, Corona is currently out in the lead, but of course, even though he has had a pit stop, he's yet to make his mandatory pit stop. He's got until lap 16 to do that, and he's out there at the front, 1.6 seconds ahead. So he's certainly got a good gap. In fact, he's got up to 2 seconds ahead of Logan Clampett. And Clampett has really been struggling with those to keep the truck on the track. That's for sure. But yeah, through this Estes section towards the hairpin that takes you towards the support race pits, and Corona doing a good job. Zelensky right up behind Smith Jr. Michael Smith Jr. down the inside. Smith Jr. was one of those trucks who made a pit stop under the caution. Trying to fight back here on your championship leader. Not able to make it stick though.
Yeah, Zelensky's had the truck to beat basically for much of the way. Kamertz, though, he's been able to keep up with him for the most part. He's about still 1.2 seconds behind now. Of course, has Smith in between him. Of course, Michael Smith, he has also already gone into the pits at one moment during this race, but I believe he's one of those drivers that are, of course, part of that strategy with drivers who went during the caution flag. He's just going to let on Kamertz by, knowing he's the faster pace, as Sakowicz, Clampett, both are into the pits.
Yeah, so they've had enough of those tyres. Sakowicz, of course, didn't stop yet, whereas Clampett has, but Clampett's had, as you say, the excursions today here in this one. He certainly had an eventful race, that's for sure. Caroni, his gap at the front is 9.6 seconds, so not really a big enough gap to make that strategy work, but maybe jump them up through in the field and give them those fresher tyres at the final part of this race, as both Clampett and Sakowicz come out. Clampett in 13th place. Kapal is just going to come out, just going to come round in front of Sakowicz.
Yeah, everyone's still getting their mandatory pit stops down here, as of course, as you mentioned, Caroni, he's been pulling on away in the team race clutch machine with Game Pods, Lemurs, and Dark Reflect on his machine right now, absolutely on his own. Remember, he had to start at the back for this race, as now he's still in the lead by 8.4 seconds. But I think eventually, though, if he still stays out, Zelensky's just going to potentially just zoom on by him with Kamertz.
Well, I mean, look, I'm looking at Michael Smith Jr. and Malcolm Mogren battling it out. And Malcolm Mogren makes a move, but Smith Jr. got all manner of sideways going into that hairpin. The interesting thing about Caroni, look at how much that lead has come down just on this lap alone. He really is losing time. And I would say if I was him, I would be coming onto pit road this time by.
You see him right now. He passes by pit lane, so I think he's trying to stretch it to the limit. Maybe go one more lap at this point, coming up to lap number 14 right now. But he's losing about a couple seconds a lap compared to the drivers on fresh tires up at the front, and Zelensky and Kamertz right now. So, going to be interesting. Meanwhile, by the way, mentioned Michael Smith Jr. He was a part of that strategy with the yellow flag. He has decided to bring his truck on in. As you see now, the pace of between the two drivers, Caroni and Zelensky, 2.4 seconds last time.
Yeah, that's just showing the difference between fresh tyres and older tyres. And the conditions are really starting to affect them. And these Goodyears, they're starting to scream on that truck of Caroni, that number 13 truck. Comes round that right-hander underneath the super speedway onto the back part of the circuit. Closest battle really is this one between Blixt and Krutov. Only one lap difference between them in terms of when they made their pit stops. Krutov though all over the rear of that truck in front.
You're trying to be patient. You might have noticed though, right behind them, these drivers have been attached by the hip for much of this run and much of this race. Melrose along with King. As King, he's having a more higher line right now. That's going to cost him as he has to lap the gas a bit, but still on the preferred line on the left side for this section going through some of these weaving corners. They've been side by side for most of the lap here. No one letting on off. Hard braking zone for King. He's got the preferred line, of course. He's going to keep the position as Melrose tries to go for the cross. Can't get the exit he needs to, though, as they go in towards the sharp corner, into the hairpin.
Yeah, Melrose was trying to get the cutback at that last hairpin. Oh, look at that switch there from King on the power. And that's going to allow Melrose to pull up alongside as your leader, Caroni, comes onto pit road this time. So he's decided that enough is enough on those Goodyears. Melrose, King, still side by side. Almost a little bit of rubbing going on there. But able to keep going between the two of them. through this final part. Melrose on the inside for the final corner, but he's going to be compromised on the exit here, and that's where King should get the run out the corner. But again, a little bit twitchy on the gas, and that means that King just has to drop in behind Melrose as Caroni comes out of pit road.
And Caroni gonna come on out. He's gonna be just outside the top 10 with the freshest tires on the racetrack right now, right behind Logan Clampett. As you can see already, the pit exit setting up a potential battle here. This is for 10th spot between these two drivers right now. That will potentially settle on down for a bit. I want to keep with this for a split second because Caroni, interested to see the difference here. He has a faster exit right now. He's trying to match it up with Clampett as you see them heading towards one of the tighter sections of the racetrack. See Caroni trying to potentially dive it on down, again using the late braking that we've talked about when on the fresher tires. That's the difference right now again, because it's about a 3-lap give or take difference between the tires of Clampett and Caroni, and for much of the field, so this could work on in his way. By the way, that battle between Melrose and King, Melrose back up in front of King now, able to finally make the pass just as Caroni was starting to pull out of the pits, I believe.
Yeah, it's down the inside. Oh, contact between Caroni and Clampett there. Clampett won't be happy, that's for sure. And Caroni got a little bit late on the brakes into that corner, and a little bit of shouldering. And that's what happens when you have two trucks pretty close together. We'll get the replay here for you. We're on board with Clampett there. And it was through this S's, you can see the grip that Caroni has on those new tyres. Through the left and the right. Clampett's back end just going out there onto the brakes. And then bang, a little bit of contact. A bit of a hip check there. With the backup and clear. Nobody out terminally. They're able to carry on racing.
Able to carry on right now. Lap number 16 of this 21-lap race. As you see now, that battle for 4th spot we were just discussing. Krutov still behind Eric Blixt right now. In terms of lap times, Krutov was just a touch faster, just barely above that. They've been matching lap times for the past 2 laps, but circle that lap 13 total where it was a bit more cleaner air. 2/10 faster when he has the space here. So he is being very patient, I think, trying to time out the pass. I think he definitely doesn't want to burn up these tires just for a pass for 4th spot, because after this, it's still about a 4.8 second gap between him and Blixt in 3rd spot in Magret.
I think it's a bit more than that. I think it's around 6 seconds is that gap. So, yeah, certainly you do want to get as many points as you can, and Justin Krutov will be looking to do just that. But Blixt, he's a hard charger. He's in, I was about to say he's in contention for hard charger, but in fact he is. He started 11th, he's currently in 4th. So, really good thing. You want to start thinking about that hard charger. Who's been the most exciting driver who's made a positive amount of places in this race? Because we're wanting your votes here today on the chat, and certainly these guys are they're definitely really running hard for this battle here, but certainly the drivers are not giving up here yet. They've still got plenty more action to go here. And but the laps are counted down here. Just 5 to go in this race.
5 to go, but it still is an absolute eternity, it feels like, for some drivers for sure. Still about 9 minutes to make sure you get your machines to the finish line right now, as Krutov, not as strong of an exit, tried to use a different line, of course, riding more on the bottom, but Blixt able to just pull away again. Once again, tight corner. Blixt is better on off for a lot of these sections right now. Krutov's better on entry because he's been really pushing the car, and that has been costing him down the straightaways, as you see. Blixt pulls on away. Krutov gets late braking. They go along the rumble strips. Then Blixt, he stretches the gap once again for this 4th spot. This part of the track, it's very hard to do that, but just a slight smidgen faster Blixt is heading into these entries right now. compared to Krutov. You see him right now trying to wheel that machine, trying to keep it on the bottom side. I think I like the lines a bit better. Krutov had to actually bounce that around a little bit. He's trying to keep it lower on down. Blixt is taking a wider exit compared to Krutov right now.
Yeah, you look at these lines, look at how hard Krutov on the brakes, on the exit now of that hairpin. Important to get the power down cleanly. Not able to do that for Justin in that Silverado. Oh, we've got Melro around.
And that's going to be trouble as you see the 84 truck bouncing off the walls. Let's take a look at the replay because this was a battle for position, I believe. That was with Rainiers behind him. In fact, I think Melro just absolutely went too fast again, and Kane with nowhere to go just helps complete the spin, I guess.
Yeah, lost it himself. So he'd got the run out of the corner at the previous corner, gets on the brakes, but he's going carrying a little bit too much speed into his corner, loses the back end, and then the back end just grips, and then bang! Gets a final hit from King. And Melro is in the grass, in the gravel, trying to get going again, and he has got going, but he's down in that 12th position.
Heck of a lot of time lost for the Team Mad Truck for sure after that. The battle still heating up though between Blixt right now and Krutov, as Krutov still trying to find any way he can to get underneath. It's still 4 laps to go. This time Blixt made a mistake. This is what he was waiting for. As Blixt ends up just barely hanging on, but Krutov able to get on the back doorstep. In fact, he braked during the apex of that corner, trying to get this run right here. Still on the doorstep, still being patient through the sweeping corners, as both of them match the lines this time, but Blixt able to get a faster exit. Much later braking though for the next section. In fact, locking up the brakes is Krutov. That's going to lose him a few tenths of a second.
Yeah, certainly is, and he wasn't able to quite take advantage. By the way, behind, James King is off the track, and the number 8 truck as well. Oh, this could be a disaster. Oh, everybody's done a really good job of keeping out the way there, but it was King and Rainiers who were both out of control into that hairpin. The back up and running again here, but look at this gaggle of trucks now. 5 trucks altogether on this track.
Yeah, if you're wondering how Rainiers got in that bunch, he had lost time just before the spin with Melro, got bumped behind by King, everyone got bunched up together, and now this is a whole gaggle of cars, as you said. It's going to be about a 6-truck train all together heading towards Victory Corner. Rainiers has been really trying to get the best run he can. He's in 7th spot. Right now you see King. Of course, King, we should mention one of the drivers throughout today that have been running a VR setup. And I think when it comes to running VR and seeing a truck like that stop in front of you that's absolutely can scare the heck out of you. Wade Hayes, by the way, is leading this whole train of trucks right now.
Yeah, we've got trucks pulling out, just trying to look at the gaps, see what is available as they go into the hard brakes once again. We're on board with James King, sorry. He's struggling. Oh, another truck that's struggling is Brem Rainiers. Look at him, he's sideways through that left-hander. And amazingly, doesn't lose that much time, really, compared to the truck behind, as King having to go defensive because here's Corone around the outside. Fresher tyres by 3 laps. Through the right-hander, but he's not able to make it stick as he's going to have the inside line for the next corner. We're stuck on board for the time being. Over the grass, over the dirt. Still side by side between King and Corone, and they've got the slow Rainiers in front, and Corone's made it past 1. He's going to make it past 2, is he? Really close battle between these trucks here, Justin.
Very close battle. Rainiers again bobbling in that same section. That is where he ended up losing a couple spots before the spin with Melro. King gets bumped from behind meanwhile, as King on the worst line possible for that section for the hairpin. Thompson, though, can't take advantage as King and Rainiers both get a great exit, but look on ahead again as Wade Hayes and Clampett battling. Clampett makes the pass on Hayes on the outside just before the tight corner. Rainier's, though, trying to keep in front of King, able to just barely keep ahead with the left rear quarter panel. He's able to get a great run. He is sliding. He is sliding. He's trying to arc it, able to keep it sliding. Still sliding, and off the racetrack he goes. He loses 2 spots. And there's 2 laps to go as Rainier's continues to slip back outside the top 10.
Yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare now for Rainier's. 10 laps into the stint now, so his tyres are starting to just really say, I've had enough here. One person who hasn't had enough is the man out front, Bobby Zelensky. We've hardly mentioned him all race. That's because he's got a 4.5 second lead over Sven Kemmert.
Yeah, Sven Kemmert is right now, you can see the lap time difference. It's just been for Zelensky much faster. 6/10, 9/10, 2/10 each and every lap. He was dominant here last year at Twin Ring Motegi as well, if I remember correctly here. So he has just absolutely been the crown of the field for a very good portion for this series' history. Meanwhile, Krutov, by the way, still attached to the hip to Blix, by the way, as Krutov still struggling with the exits to keep up with him as they approach the hairpin in this one.
Yep, those 2 battling away. We've got a battle for 9th and 10th as well between King and Thompson. See the comparisons there. Thompson, look at that lap 18 difference. 4.796 seconds. Okay, King was getting involved in all sorts of shenanigans, and I think it was when Miller actually lost control as well. So that would explain that lap time difference. Look at Thompson losing control on the exit. Manages to keep it going, but Zelensky is starting his final lap.
White flag is out on the circuit here at Twin Ring Motegi as we're about 2 minutes away for Zelensky being out across the checker flag. Still keeping it right now with Thompson as he is still trying to hang on to a top 10 after starting 14th. Now up to Zelensky. And back and forth, pardon me, as Thompson right now trying to work his way forward, now approaching the start and finish line himself. That shows the absolute difference between him and the leader, and for much of these drivers, 34 seconds between him and 10th spot today. Rainier's, he's trying to recover to get back into the top 10. Thompson still bobbling around, and his truck is very loose. I think the tires are gone because he just lost the top 10.
Certainly did. He's going to lose another position if he's not careful. Melrose there with him as well. We'll look forward because Corone is 2/10 of a second behind Wade Hayes. Justin Krutov is half a second behind as well. That's a battle for 4th place. So with battles all the way through this field, Socked Out Racing always produces fantastic action all the way through your field. There's always a battle going on here in this series, and certainly it just keeps on giving to this championship.
Absolutely, of course, with the Socked Out Racing V8 SuperTrucks Championship, Blix as well as Krutov, they're going to probably battle right to the finish. Krutov still struggling with the corner exits right now as they're about 18 seconds back of the man who has just absolutely owned the race for most of the way. Bobby Zelensky with Slip Angle Motorsports. He has been dominant here today. Started once again on the pole, has the points lead. He's going to grow it even more so as Bobby Zelensky sliding and slipping on the exits, but he is very far out. He'll take the checkered flag here at Twin Ring Motegi to add to his totals for this season, as Sven Kemmert will fall him off with a 2nd spot. And in the top 3, Marco Mogren, as again having a podium spot. Great runs here and great battles still. This is Hayes still battling with the Frenchman of Corone. This is for the 7th spot.
And contact between the 2 of them, Hayes and Corone. Hayes is the one who comes out worse off of that incident. Has to get going, and he'll be hoping he could get going before Sakovic gets there with him. Not an ideal way to finish this one, but certainly is a blown engine further back as well. As
yeah, that's Rainier.
Rainier,
yeah.
Yeah, so across the line, he finishes ahead of his teammate, amazingly. But yeah, or does he? Well, we'll have to have a look at that one of the results. But yeah, action all along in this race. Still a couple of drivers to finish this one, but yeah, hats off to all these drivers. They've certainly put on a show for us today.
absolutely putting on a show. One of the drivers still trying to finish off, Michael Smith Jr. He ran in the top 5 for part of the ways for pit strategy. He'll finish off in 17th for him. While Gabriel Ruse is the last truck on the racetrack that is on the lead lap. Ruse, he was around the top 10 for part of the way, but lost a heck of a lot of time during pit stops. For him, he finishes off in 18th spot. David Crozier is the only driver to finish a lap down in this one in the 36 truck. But with the results right here, as you're going to see, it was absolutely domination from the get-go for Bobby Zalenski, leading his way 17 times out of 21 laps, coming away with the victory by 5.8 seconds. Ben Kamert finished off in second. Marco Magrin, after having a very strong run at Phillip Island, he finishes off again on the podium in the top 3 with his teammate just in front of him, 11 seconds back of the leader. Eric Blix and Justin Krutov, they battled it out basically for the final 5 or so laps. They finished 4th and 5th. Clampett, with the strategies for him, eventually moved himself back up to 6th spot to finish off and recovered from what was a very loose truck. And Caroni, meanwhile, finishes off in 7th. James King 8th. Daniel Thompson 9th. And Melrose recovers to finish off in the top 10 for Team Mad. And just outside the top 10, and watching on as you see Zalenski doing the burnouts, Hayes, Sakowicz, Kopal, Clausen, and Reniers in the top 15. Clifton Cockrell, somebody we didn't talk about much today, finished in 16th. Michael Smith Jr., he got a bit of Sperry points, finished off in 17th. Gabriel Ruse, 18th. And Crozier in Team Mad 2's entry finishes off 1 lap down in 19th spot. A lot to think about for sure here after this one. After an exciting action, an exciting race here for the Sox Out Racing V8 SuperTrucks Championship from Twin Ring Motegi. We'll be back in just a few moments with your top 3 as well as your biggest mover and your most exciting driver here on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live.
Fuel usage.
Averaging 0.10 gallons per lap.
Pit stop, add 5 gallons. Change right side only.
Hitbox in 10, 9, 8, 1. Bingo. 10-4, adding 5 gallons. Changing right side tires.
Once again, photo finish here of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Will it be Tim Hogan? It's going to be Christopher DeMerit at the line.
And welcome back, everyone, to Sox Out Racing V8 Super Trucks Championship from Twin Ring Motegi. It was an absolutely dominant race. Some people, Bobby Zelensky had a godlike performance here on the road course today, able to pull away by about 5.8 seconds to come away with the victory today here on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live. Justin Prince alongside Paul Smith here in the broadcast booth. Joining us now in the broadcast booth, too, is your big winner for today, and Bobby Zelensky. Bobby, you absolutely pulled away from the rest of the field yet again here at Twin Ring Motegi. How do you feel?
Yeah, it's awesome. Feel very accomplished. You know, we got the win. It's always great. Showed a really good long run pace there at the end, so I'm happy about that. And really just feeling accomplished, and I'm really happy I won the race.
That's good for sure. Have to ask this, what kind of setup do you have to be able to get the pace you have on top of making sure it's a good long run setup? Because at times you're running 9/10 of a second, half a second faster than the guy who finished second in Sven Kamert.
I don't know if there's a huge setup discrepancy in this league because of the work Christian Challenger does in the Sox Out Racing forum, posting a set every week. And, you know, he's a peak driver. He knows how to make great road sets. And I think we all kind of just take that setup and then make our own tweaks to it. I don't know how much of it's in the setup. Maybe there is some things I do. I just kind of tweak it around my driving style and just make it comfortable to me. From what he makes. So I don't know how much is there, or I also don't know, because I was gaining that much time on the last about 5 laps. Before that, me and Sven were within like a 10th or 2, and it was really close. I don't know if he just kind of backed down and just wanted to bring it home, or I had a long run advantage there. I don't know if it's something in my driving that I maybe just saved tires better, but I guess we'll see.
I guess so, but of course, just absolutely dominating start, of course, with you being the points leader here coming into today. Coming out, of course, even more so the points leader, that's for sure. But with you, of course, you do a lot of different races, of course, taking part of races that are part of Dirt Night, I believe, taking part in different levels here. When it comes to this league, what do you enjoy the most about it to be able to do well and to be able to have the fun you do to feel accomplished?
Well, I think it's all down to the combination of car and track, and really car on road courses. This truck, I like NASCAR vehicles on road courses. They're my favorite, combination to do in sim racing. So that's why I joined the league. I was really interested. I hadn't seen a league like this before when I joined, before last season. So that's what really makes it fun for me. I just love these cars are so fun to drive. It doesn't matter if you're last or first or wherever. It's just fun. It's a fun challenge. And then once you like tame the car and know its little intricacies and know these little things to gain speed, you're always finding little things to get faster. And it's a really fun truck. And yeah.
Real quickly, Nürburgring is next here on the schedule for round number 5. That is not until May 26th. What do you plan to do for that? Is there any tweaks for that? Of course, 2 different racetracks as well, of course, between Twin Ring Motegi and, of course, Nürburgring.
Yeah, they're both fun tracks, but Nürburgring, I gotta step my game up a little more this year, because last year Sven basically should have beaten me in that race. He was faster and he should have beat me, but he had a mistake that cost him the win. So I believe he sped, and he would have beat me because he got the overcut on me, actually. And so I got to make sure I step my game up this year, because he'll be hard to beat. So it should be a fun race as always.
Should be for sure. Anyone you want to thank for being a part of this victory today?
Yeah, as always, I'd like to thank my sponsors, Virtual to Reality TV, Payday GG, and Virtual Racing School for all the support they give. Awesome to have them all in the car. And shout out to everyone showing up, racing, and having fun today in SOR, and everyone that puts the league on.
Thank you very much for the time as well, Bobby. Congratulations on the victory. To be honest, I'd probably finish without a hood. Definitely takes a lot of talent. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That was Bobby Zelensky joining us here in the broadcast booth. Now joining Paul will be your second place finisher. Meanwhile, Sven Kamert Paul, how is he feeling?
Well, let's find out then from the man himself. Second place today, you started third. Just talk us through that race. It was a tricky race. Bobby seemed to just have that slight pace advantage, but that safety car really kind of helped you out in the early stages here.
Yeah, the safety car was interesting. Well, Bobby definitely was well, the man to beat again, and I was glad I could stay so close to him for so long. But yeah, I'm not sure what it was exactly, but those final few laps, he did manage to get away from me, even though the truck itself still felt very fine to drive for myself. But yeah, I just missed out on those final few half a second to a second on the last few laps. But yeah, for the rest, it was a fun race. Definitely a good challenge to get these trucks around these tracks. So good fun.
And just we're looking at the race. There was 4 drivers decided to come into the pits in that safety car period. Just how was it for the tyres around this track? 'Cause it looked like drivers were struggling getting the power down out of those slow corners.
Yeah, since the updates for this year, the truck drives completely different, and it is mostly a fight. Well, not a fight, but it is about keeping the tires alive for so long. And we were not that lucky with the initial weather, so our practice in much hotter weather, so it was not too bad for myself to drive at this track. But well, as all the other trucks as well, it's all a matter of making sure you don't make any mistakes. Braking time, acceleration, nice, smooth, always the same, and yeah, just don't burn up those tires.
And well, that was round 4 then. We're a third of the way into the championship. How are you finding this season of the Socks Out Racing V8 SuperTrucks?
Can't complain. I mean, it could obviously be better, but 2 times second, 2 times fourth, so yeah, I mean, I can't complain about that. There's still drop weeks, still a long way of the season to go, so a lot can still happen, but definitely happy with the start I've taken.
Okay, and before we let you go then, anyone you want to thank whilst you're on the broadcast?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my teammates Marco, Wade, and Gabe for the practice and helping, well, testing things with the setup, and as well as the Workiva main sponsor, the Kinetic Racing main sponsor. I'd like to thank Workiva as well for the sponsorship for this year.
Well, thank you very much, Sven, and congratulations on the second place.
Thank you.
And back to you, Justin.
Thank you very much, Paul. Just noticed this here when checking things up. This was the same 1-2, in fact, of last year's race here between Motegi. Of course, last year a 17-second gap between the two of them. This year only 5.8, 5.9 seconds. But somebody that also had a strong run, 11 seconds back of first spot, and also back on the podium once again, Marco Mogren. Marco, how are you feeling after coming away with a strong third-place finish?
Knackered. It's a tough track, and I've not had the best week leading up to this race, but I'm happy to get a third place.
Yeah, that's for sure. Of course, last race you had a great run, of course, at Phillip Island in this one. This one had a different feel to it because the caution flag definitely brought out a lot of strategy differences, especially with tires. When it came to you, what was your thought process and how was the tire wear for you throughout the entire race?
I think what hurt me most was that I was driving not to the standard I wanted. I thought I'd switch things up because usually I prefer to go longer and pit after other people to know I have a tire advantage, but I thought I'd force the issue this time. But yeah, screwing up on pit exit didn't help. Along with, I think I pushed the tires too hard, they got too hot, and yeah, I continuously lost time to both Bobby and Sven. So overall, quite poor performance for myself.
I basically, of course, though, thinking of the positives here, though, you were still able to keep up into the top 3 here, even with how you felt we were driving here, basically. What do you feel was a positive here to be able to still keep in that third spot, even with things, of course, and keep it away from the battle that was going on for much of the race in Blixt and Krutov?
Yeah, I think that the positives is that third place is still good. It's a really competitive field with a lot of good drivers, so I think I shouldn't complain about the third place. And I think I'm relatively closer to Bobby at this stage of the season than I was at the first race. So that's a positive. And I mean, I didn't have the best week leading up to this, suffering from herniated discs in both thoracic and lumbar, so it was quite a painful drive, to be honest. But I mean, it's P1 and P2 for the team in this race, so I think we're pulling away in the team's championship. So that's what I'm going to bring from this race, and look forward to the next one.
That's for sure, and did not know about that. I hope you feel better for sure. Definitely deserve some rest, but real quickly, is there anybody you want to thank before we let you go and before we let you rest up?
Sven for working with me for the race, our sponsors, Six Sideways, Joel Real Timing, Cranfield, Hester Sim Race, and Armor Centrum, and of course RaceBuff for bringing on a great show.
Congratulations on the top 3, and definitely rest up. I hope you feel better after. Thank you very much, Marco.
Thank you.
Did not even realize that was the amount of pain he was in. Definitely a lot of things dealing with. Hopefully he feels well by the time the next race happens in May, of course. But of course, we got a few more things to discuss. You have the biggest mover throughout the race today, as well as the most exciting. Of course, there was a few different drivers that could be brought of that. Blixt, Clampett, Kane specifically for the most exciting part. For that, though, somebody that basically had a strong run while being the most exciting, in my opinion, was Eric Blixt. Why don't we bring him on into the broadcast booth as your most exciting driver for this one? Paul will be with him. Paul?
Yeah, thank you very much. So, yeah, Eric, you're looking like you're in the vote for the Hard Charger Award today, and just talk us through that race, because you started off in 11th, not the best qualifying there, but able to move through the field today.
Hard charge.
And pardon me, I think he's actually, pardon me, we did not hear for your split second. Can you repeat that? Sorry, Eric.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad qualifying session from pretty far. Luckily, I did a.
And I think Eric, you're breaking up. Oh, I apologize for that. We just one quick time. Pardon me. We apologize for the technical issues and apologize for that. We'll let Eric work on that for the split second here. So definitely some exciting racing there. Apologies for cutting off that interview with the technical issues. We'll let him fix that up, as that was, pardon me for that. But of course, somebody that also really moved up through the field, Caroni, one of those drivers that moved up for sure. He is not available for interview for this one. Final thoughts on this event for the V8 SuperTrucks Championship?
Yeah, it was an interesting, exciting race once again, as always with this series. You always get, we saw this last year in this series, how close the battling was, and again, we saw the close battling. We saw how Eric Blixt and Justin Krutov were really close together across the line, less than a second between the two of them as they went across the line. So certainly Eric, involved in a lot of close battling, was able to fight his way through to 4th from 11th on the grid, as we kind of caught him saying that it wasn't the best qualifying for him, that's for sure. But yeah, great racing from Eric to be able to get the most exciting driver award. And of course, Hard Charger, you can vote for that on the Socks Out Racing Facebook group. They will have the most positions gained and also the most exciting driver up for vote. And the winner of that Hard Charger award gets 1 month free of the iAnalyze software. Great software that we who provide support to this championship, and it's always good to see drivers getting that award to recognise their efforts in this race today.
That's for sure. That is for sure. Definitely good to see that kind of support, especially with the kind of racing we have seen with this series. Great action for sure. Be sure to take part in that fan vote on the Sox Out Racing Facebook page. That is just going to about do it here on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live here for the V8 SuperTrucks Championship and with Sox Out Racing. Some great action here at Twin Ring Motegi. Apologies to Eric Blixt, who was breaking up with his communications for that, and congratulations for an exciting run to keep yourself into the top 5 with Justin Krutov, battling with him for much of the way. But with that, it's time to say goodbye here from Japan. I'm Justin Prince. With me was Paul Smith, who is also doing your camera work for today. Esteban Barro was your TV cameras provider with TrackCams22.com. Andres Warner was your overlay designer. You can find more at On Warner Design. Ball development, Simon Grossman, and live timing and scoring provided by Nick Theismann for RaceSpot TV. But with that, it was exciting action for sure here for this round, for round number 4. But until round number 5 next month, I'm Justin Prince saying so long here from RaceSpot TV, and have a wonderful night and enjoy the rest of your weekend.